Have you ever wondered why some people who barely scraped through school end up becoming millionaires, while others with top grades and fancy degrees struggle to make ends meet? It almost feels backwards, doesn't it? Here's a stat that might shock you. Research published by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that intelligence, measured through IQ tests, does have some effect on income, but its influence plateaus beyond a certain level. In simple terms, being smarter doesn't mean you'll be richer. Let's get one thing clear. Being academically smart doesn't guarantee financial success. You can ace every test in school and still be financially stuck if you don't learn how money really works. In fact, many of the wealthiest individuals today weren't top of their class. Look at people like Richard Branson, who struggled with dyslexia and dropped out of school at 16, or Damon John, founder of Fubu and investor on Shark Tank, who had a learning disability but built a multi-million-dollar fashion empire. Then there's the popular phrase in business: A students work for B students, and C students run the companies. Why is that? Because being smart in school teaches you how to follow instructions, not necessarily how to create value, take risks, or solve real-world problems. Wealth comes from taking consistent action, managing emotions, learning from failure, and having the discipline to stick to long-term goals. That's emotional intelligence and perseverance, not IQ. As entrepreneur Jim Rohn once said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. The takeaway? It's not the smartest who win, it's the most disciplined, resilient, and action-oriented. When it comes to building wealth, intelligence gives you a head start, but it's your habits that take you across the finish line. Think about this. You could be the smartest person in the room, but if you spend impulsively, never invest, and avoid financial planning, you'll likely stay broke. On the other hand, someone with average intelligence who sticks to basic financial habits, like budgeting, saving regularly, and investing consistently, can quietly build real wealth over time. Let's take Warren Buffett as an example. Yes, he's smart, but not a genius in the Silicon Valley sense. What sets him apart is not complexity, but consistency. Buffett began investing at age 11, and over the decades, he stuck to a simple strategy: buy undervalued companies and hold for the long term. His genius lies in his habits: reading, researching, and exercising patience, not chasing the next big trend. Research from Duke University found that 40 to 45% of daily actions are habit-driven, not conscious decisions. That means your routines and automatic behaviors have more influence on your financial outcome than one-time decisions or intellectual knowledge. Let's bring it to a relatable level. Imagine two people. Person A earns $150,000 a year, but spends it all, chasing lifestyle upgrades, status, and instant gratification. Person B earns $60,000 a year, but religiously saves 20%, invests monthly in index funds, and lives below their means. 10 years later, Person B will almost certainly have a stronger net worth, not because they're smarter, but because their habits worked in their favor. Habits compound over time, just like money does. The magic isn't in being brilliant once, it's in doing the right thing over and over again, even when it's boring. Automating your savings, avoiding lifestyle inflation, investing for the long term, and learning how to delay gratification. These habits can turn ordinary people into extraordinary success stories. So don't wait until you feel smart enough to begin your wealth-building journey. Focus on the basics, build habits, be consistent. Because in the real world, wealth doesn't reward IQ. It rewards action. One of the biggest traps that intelligent people often fall into is perfection paralysis. The fear of taking action until every variable is figured out, every risk is eliminated, and every move is perfectly calculated. But here's the reality. Wealthy people don't wait for perfect conditions, they act. Let's say you want to invest, but you spend weeks trying to time the market, reading every analyst's opinion, and waiting for the perfect dip. Meanwhile, someone else just starts, investing a little each month into an index fund. Fast forward a few years, and guess who's ahead? It's not the person who read 50 books and made 0 moves. It's the one who took imperfect but consistent action. Jeff Bezos once said, "If you wait for 100% of the information to make a decision, you're already too late." This doesn't just apply to business. It applies to your finances too. Rich people know that progress beats perfection. They understand that taking calculated risks, learning from failures, and adjusting along the way is far more effective than doing nothing out of fear of getting it wrong. They act with the 70% rule. Once they have 70% of the info, they go. Why? Because momentum matters more than precision. On the other hand, perfection paralysis often keeps smart people stuck. They overanalyze, procrastinate, and second-guess everything. They treat money like a math problem to solve, when in reality, it's a behavior game. Example, some of the most successful entrepreneurs and investors started without having all the answers. Elon Musk launched Tesla and SpaceX not with certainty, but with bold decisions and the willingness to adapt. Most millionaires didn't build their wealth with perfect knowledge. They built it through action, learning, and iteration. So the takeaway here is simple. Start where you are. Whether it's investing, budgeting, or launching a side hustle, don't wait to be perfect. Just be consistent, open to learning, and willing to course correct. Because wealth doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who move. While intelligence can help you understand complex concepts, it's your daily habits that truly determine your financial future. Wealthy people understand that success isn't about having a brilliant idea once. It's about doing the right things over and over again. In fact, psychologist James Clear, in his best-selling book, Atomic Habits, says you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems are just a collection of habits, repeated actions that lead to long-term results. Take Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world. He doesn't chase the latest trends or try to outsmart the market every day. Instead, he sticks to a few simple rules. Invest consistently, avoid unnecessary debt, and never lose money. His success is not built on genius. It's built on discipline and habits formed over decades. Compare that to someone who might be extremely smart but lives paycheck to paycheck because they don't budget, save, or invest. Intelligence doesn't help if your behavior sabotages your progress. Another example, Ronald Read was a janitor and gas station attendant with a modest income. When he died, he shocked everyone by leaving behind over $8 million. How? Simple habits, frugal living, consistent investing in blue-chip stocks, and patience. No MBA, no hedge fund, just solid habits. Wealthy people automate good behavior. They automate savings. They invest before spending. They track their money. These aren't genius-level moves. They're smart habits that anyone can adopt. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not a financial expert, guess what? You don't have to be. Just start small, save 10% of your income, invest in a basic index fund, and review your spending once a week. These tiny actions, you repeated consistently, will put you ahead of people who are way smarter but financially undisciplined. Fear is one of the biggest barriers to building wealth, not a lack of intelligence. Many people, even those who are highly educated, never invest, start a business, or take calculated risks because they're afraid of losing money, afraid of failure, afraid of what others will think. But wealthy people understand that fear is part of the process, and they act anyway. They don't make decisions based on emotion. They make decisions based on long-term thinking and facts. Consider this. During every market crash, it's not the smartest investors who thrive. It's the ones who stay calm and don't panic sell. According to research by Fidelity, the best performing investors in a 10-year period were often the ones who either forgot they had accounts or left them alone. In other words, staying the course, not overthinking, leads to better results. Another example, Jeff Bezos was told by many people that starting Amazon was risky and that leaving his stable Wall Street job was foolish. But he followed a framework called the regret minimization strategy. He asked himself, when I'm 80, will I regret not having tried? Not, what if I fail? He took the leap, not because he wasn't afraid, but because he didn't let fear stop him. Meanwhile, many brilliant minds never act on their ideas because they're stuck in analysis paralysis, constantly thinking, researching, and waiting for the perfect time that never comes. The result? No progress, no growth, and no wealth. So let's bring it all together. Becoming rich isn't reserved for geniuses or Ivy League graduates. In fact, many of the wealthiest people in the world weren't the top of their class. They were the ones who took action, stayed consistent, and made smart decisions over time. They avoided lifestyle inflation, invested regularly, diversified their income, and didn't let fear or ego control their money. Remember, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need the right mindset. Building wealth is more about discipline than degrees, more about emotional control than IQ, and more about habits than hacks. Take someone like Chris Hogan, financial educator and author. He often says, winning at wealth is about behavior, not head knowledge. That means showing up, budgeting your money, investing regularly, and learning from your mistakes. These are things anyone can do, regardless of how smart they are by traditional standards. And don't forget, many average people have quietly built small fortunes just by living below their means, buying real estate early, investing in index funds, or running a small but consistent business. The tools are out there, you just have to use them.